Writing a novel is a huge undertaking, and you have no way to know for sure if somebody's going to read your book or share it with their friends. Or do you? Improving your writing skills by doing this one thing will help ensure that people fall in love with your book and share it with their friends. Taking another writing class isn't the answer. Writing short stories and perfecting your skill set through a short story, that is the answer.
Writing short stories will improve your skills and they become a marketable asset to help you become discovered. Imagine someone finding your short story and they love it so much that they search for you as an author, hoping that you've written a novel.
Writing short stories has catapulted my writing skills, and it's given us a lot of content to help us be discovered. Our latest book, The Uprising, at the time of this recording, has a 4.7 star on Amazon and is the #1 bestseller in the teen and young adult sci-fi action category.
Writing short stories that will catapult your skills and your novels is easier than you think. Before we share the 5 elements for a short story that you must perfect, you need to consider these facts. You can write a short story in a fraction of the time it takes to write a novel. And you can also improve your writing techniques with a short story because it's faster and easier. Now, editing a short story is much easier. You can get down the basics of editing. And then, that crucial feedback that we all want, you can get much faster, quicker feedback on a short story than what you would get for a novel.
The 5 elements that you're about to learn will separate amateur stories from professional ones. Plus, we're sharing our 3-step process for writing compelling fiction much faster. This framework transforms good ideas into great stories. And here's the best part. At the end of this video, we're going to share how to enter our short story contest. So let's dive in.
What makes a short story different from a novel? A novel has extensive character development, there's huge plot threads, but a short story is laser focused. It has one character and one point.
Think of a short story as a single, powerful moment captured in time. Every element must further the central theme of the story.
The most effective short stories follow what we call the iceberg principle. What you see on the surface is supported by a huge foundation beneath it. Your reader should sense that there's a whole world and history behind your characters, even though you are only sharing a small slice of their life.
Every powerful short story has these 5 elements in it, and even missing one of them can weaken your entire piece. These 5 elements are singular, simple, location, purpose, and the clock.
First is singular. You want a compelling protagonist with one clear desire or need. Your protagonist must actively pursue only one thing, whether that's love, understanding, revenge, or perhaps escape. In short stories, you don't have time for passive characters. Every character must have an active role in furthering the story. Think about your short story being laser focused on a target.
Second is simple. Choose a simple story structure for your short story. The limiting effect of a short story will require you to perfect the elements of story structure. Once you master the basic elements of story structure, expanding that to a more complex story structure in a novel is way easier because story structure begins to make sense when you master the basic elements.
Have you perfected making people care about your protag right before plunging them into terrible trouble? Can you effectively show your protag making things worse as they attempt to fix things? Have you mastered building tension, creating hopelessness, and the inner transformation of your protagonist's needs? Can you write a short story with a powerful conclusion that leaves people pondering the deeper message?
I struggled with some of these basic story structure elements until I started writing short stories. I created one short story and then rewrote it repetitively until the elements of a story began to really click. And that you just can't do with an 80,000 word novel. It takes too much time, you never do it. But with a short story, you can really focus on those basic story structure elements and perfect them.
Mastering basic story structure is a must, and short stories will help you develop this skill. We have videos about the 3-act story structure and the hero's journey if you need to brush up on the basics, and we'll put links in the show notes.
Third is location. Where your story takes place should be a focused setting that enhances your theme. Don't just describe where the story takes place. Make the setting work for you. Let me give you an example. A story about isolation may take place in a single house off by itself, while a story about claustrophobia may take place in an elevator that's crowded with people. Every detail should reinforce and enhance the emotional core of your story.
Fourth is purpose. Your short story must have a theme or a message. And once you establish what your purpose is, everything you write should be influenced by that. In short stories, every conversation, description, or conflict must drive the story forward and give us a clear picture of who these people are. Their lives, the story, must draw your reader in to discover the deeper meaning. If the theme or deeper message is life-changing, perhaps it's emotionally moving, or has a profound truth, you will gain a loyal reader. Make every word count.
Fifth is what I call the clock. Now, the clock includes the time period in which your story takes place, but it also includes the pacing of your story. Now, a short story generally takes place in a shorter period of time, and the pacing is a little bit different than in a novel. A short story is often limited to one period of time or one event, and the pacing varies. So if you're doing a story in one day, the pacing is probably going to be much faster than if your story takes place over a week.
The clock becomes more important the closer you get to the end of your story. A satisfying resolution to a short story should be surprising and also inevitable. The best short story endings make the reader think, I didn't see that coming, but of course, that's how it had to end. Your ending should be earned, not forced.
Often, a short story has an open-ended ending, making the reader wonder what happened to the protagonist.
An example of this is a character who is facing a choice of one of two doors. She has to open one of those doors, and so the whole short story is about the process of her choosing the door. And the story could end on her opening one of those doors and walking through the end. And what that does is it's open-ended, and the reader has to decide, did it end up well for her?
An open-ended ending can be a lot of fun, right?
Yeah.
Here's one last thing. You have to have right expectations. If you're going to write a short story with the goal of improving your skills, then you've got to be prepared to write the story, rewrite the story, edit the story, and rewrite the story, and then rewrite the story. Keep in mind that growth happens in the rewrite. Take time to consider these 5 elements: singular, simple, location, purpose, and the clock. Pick one of these elements and focus on that as you write and rewrite each section. And then when you've mastered that, go to the next one, pick a different element, and rewrite the story again, focused on that element.
And now that you have the 5 essential elements for a short story, you are ready for our 3-step process to get you writing your short story. Step 1 is the lightning round. Set a timer for 30 minutes and write your story. Don't worry about perfection. What you're doing right now is getting the bones of the story on paper. This prevents overthinking and helps you really get to what your story is really about. Many writers are really surprised by what comes out when they just let their subconscious take the lead.
Step 2 is the scalpel edit. And this is where the real craft begins to happen and your skills start coming out. As you enter this phase, ask yourself these questions. Does every sentence move the story forward? Does every character serve a purpose? Can you cut any unnecessary words? Short stories are like poems. Every word must earn its place.
And step 3 is the emotional truth check. Read your story aloud and ask yourself, what is this story really about? Not the plot. I'm talking the deeper meaning. Is it about forgiveness or fear or the complexity of human relationships? Once you identify your story's emotional core, go back and strengthen everything so that it supports that emotional core and get rid of anything that doesn't add to it.
Here's a bonus tip for those of you who have stuck with us this far in the video. Where you choose to start telling your short story is critically important. Start as close to the climax as possible. Unlike novels where you can build slowly, short stories demand that you get engagement immediately. Your opening line should either introduce conflict, reveal the character, or establish the unique world that you're building. And ultimately, it would be best if it did all 3.
Here's a practical exercise. So take a moment from your life. Either that's a conversation that you had, a decision that you made that maybe you regretted, or perhaps it's a moment of extreme joy. And then ask yourself this question: what if this happened to someone else? Or what if it had been raining that day? Or perhaps I missed my flight? The best short stories often begin with this question, a what if question.
Who loves a great contest?
Yes!
Everyone, right? So we want to invite you to write a short story and enter it into a short story contest that we've made. So the information about how you submit your short story and the short story guidelines are in the description below. So if you're interested in writing a short story and being published in our newsletter and being mentioned in a video, then check out those guidelines in the submission. We'd love to have you submit a short story.
If you're wondering, what should I write about? Well, we've got you covered. We've got 3 writing prompts that you can choose from to help you apply the principles that we've talked about in this video.
Now, they don't have to write these 3 prompts.
No, they don't. But this is just ideas.
Good. You can pick any one of them, or you can pick your own idea.
A character finds something that doesn't belong to them. 2 strangers are stuck together for exactly an hour. Someone must make a choice they've been avoiding for years.
So you can pick one of these prompts, or you can use your own idea, but try to use our 3-step process and some of the information that we've included in this video. So write it in a week. We want you to do it in a week. This isn't going to take 6 months. Take a week and write a short story and submit it using the principles that we shared, and we'll see where you go. Maybe you're going to be the winner.
What type of short story are you most excited to write?
I'm going to write an alien invasion, sci-fi.
That's awesome. Let us know in the comments. And remember to keep writing, keep growing, and also that every published author started with one story, and yours could be next.